now is 1 o'clock, and we present Those Were the Days with Chuck Schaden.
Hello out there in Radio Land. From the Museum of Broadcast Communications at the Chicago Cultural Center on Michigan Avenue, it's Those Were the Days, brought to you with fond memories by Cragen Federal Bank for Savings, by Metro Golden Memories, Chicago's showbiz nostalgia shop, and by subscribers to the Nostalgia Digest and Radio Guide. And now, stepping out of his hall closet with a trunk full of memories, here's your host, Chuck Schaden.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ken Alexander. And welcome to another in our series of programs designed to bridge the sound gap between yesterday and today. Today is Saturday, May 8th, 1993. And this afternoon on Those Were the Days, we have a variety of sounds to share with you. Between now and 5 o'clock, we'll tune in to The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet from 1948. A Life in Your Hands from 1952. Fibber McGee and Molly from 1943. This Is Our Enemy from the World War II years. And a bit later, we'll be joined by radio's hard-working, nice guy, Mr. Art Hellyer, the legendary Chicago radio personality who will be here to talk about his great career on the airwaves. Plus, we'll have some fun listening to some of his zany radio antics from the past, so stay tuned and don't touch that dial. It all begins right after a word from our sponsor, Cragen Federal Bank.
With a Cragen mortgage, I make the call. Adjustable or fixed, there's no points at all.
Buying our first home, Cragen covers it all. From low down payments to no points at all.
I'm buying a 3-flat. The interest is small. There's a rate guarantee.
And no points at all.
I'm refinancing because rates took a fall. I got Cragen service and no points at all.
From the standpoint of Cragen Federal Bank, paying points has no point to it at all. So you pay no points on a variety of adjustable rate and fixed rate mortgages, even on refinancing. Big or small loan, look to Cragen for thorough counseling, quick processing, rate guarantees up to 120 days, a 5% down payment program, and in case you missed the point, with no points at all.
Cragen Federal Bank for Savings, an equal housing lender. For current rates, call 1-312-889-LOAN. St. Bernadette School for Special Children at 3265 West Armitage Avenue in Chicago is a private school approved by the Illinois State Board of Education and contracted by the Chicago Board of Education. It serves a wide range of special students, including the trainable and educable mentally handicapped, children with learning disabilities, those with behavior disorders, and emotionally disturbed children. Students range from ages 3 to 16. The goal of St. Bernadette School for Special Children is to fully develop the educational potential in each student and provide special therapeutic services such as speech and language, occupational and physical therapy, plus swimming and physical education. St. Bernadette School calendar consists of an 11-month program each year, 5 hours a day, Monday through Friday, from August to July. Hot lunches are provided daily, including days of field trips. Children are taught to eat with proper utensils and are given self-help skills. The staff at St. Bernadette School for Special Children consists of certified teachers and therapists. The teacher-student ratio is a 1-to-5 with a teacher's aide. A 1-to-1 ratio is provided as needed with an individual tutor. Academic materials match the learning ability of each student's visual and auditory coordination. At St. Bernadette's, communication skills are provided by speech and language therapists on an individual basis. If you know of a child or have a child or grandchild who you think might benefit from St. Bernadette School for Special Children, call the administrator at 312-276-4079. That's St. Bernadette School for Special Children, 3265 West Armitage Avenue in Chicago. Phone 312-276-4079. Well, this is going to be a fun afternoon for us on our Those Were the Days program. We've got a lot of good old radio shows to share with you. And a little later on, Art Hellyer, one of the great Chicago radio personalities. And certainly Art was much more than a disc jockey, and is much more than a disc jockey. He's a real, true, bona fide radio personality. And he was one of the very first to have all these wild lines come flying in out of the air, thanks to his good friend Dr. Lenny Kaye. Well, Art is actually on the air right now. He does a show every week on station WJOL in Joliet, Illinois. That's 1340 a.m. He's on the air from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. And so he's on the air now, and when he gets off the air, then Larry Peters is standing by out there in Joliet, and he's going to whisk Art from his JOL studio, glide down the open expressways, right? And then he's going to come here into our Chicago area and be with us at the Chicago Cultural Center for Those Were the Days broadcast. So that means he'll be here. Well, if he leaves there at 2 o'clock, he'll be here around 5:30. No. I think he's going to leave a little early. I don't know. Let's call Art and see what... He's on the air right now. If we call him, maybe we can find out what the timetable is. Let's see. Let me get a line here. And we got a line? Okay, Joliet, let's see. That number out there at WJOL is... Let's see, I have to get an outside line first. That's 91815-726, and then a couple of more. Okay, now we'll see if Art... He's in the midst of his show now. It's the last hour of his show. It's ringing out there at WJOL. We're waiting. He's probably doing a commercial or something at this moment, talking on the air, not answering the phone. Maybe they closed the station down. Maybe the construction, the tower fell over. Waiting for Art.
Art Hellyer.
Art Hellyer.
Hi, Chuck.
Chuck Schaden, how are you?
Okay, now, I got to go through all these crazy things that you don't have to go through.
Well, I went through a lot.
Okay, answer the flashing number button. Don't go away.
I'm here.
I'm going to put you on hold, then I'm going to hang up the phone.
Oh, thanks.
Then I'm going to push the flashing button down.
Okay.
Then I'm going to push the device to on.
All right.
And I've got to take you out of ABC here.
Okay.
This is crazy, isn't it?
I'll do 2 choruses of the Star Spangled Banner.
Yeah, do that, will you? Larry's sitting right here.
He got there all right.
Oh, yeah, no problem at all.
All right.
He's right here. Okay, I'm going to put you on hold, hang up the phone, then I'll be talking with you.
Okay.
Okay.
He's going to put me on hold and hang up the phone. Oh, now we hear what they're doing.
You should be there.
I'm not here.
Yes, you are.
Oh, I am.
Yes, you are.
Art Hellyer.
Okay.
What a pleasure it is to talk with you by long distance.
Okay, I just faded the music down here.
Okay.
And I have Chuck Schaden on the line here. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing fine. Waiting for you to come downtown to beautiful downtown Chicago and the Cultural Center for our Museum of Broadcast Communications.
Oh, you are?
Are you not coming?
What I'm supposed to do today?
That's what, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, Larry Peters is here.
All right, that's good.
And he found his way all the way down from the Wisconsin border to where we are here. And he's all safe and everything. He was shaking a bit. He was pale, ashen when he came
I know. He's very upset about those things.
Yeah,
how far from downtown Chicago is Joliet?
40 miles.
40 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see. You ought to be here then when you leave. You ought to be here in about 45 minutes, right?
You know Larry better than I do. if you're declaring that.
Now, Art, you're in the midst of your broadcast right now, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing this every Saturday from 9 until 2, correct?
And in the morning till 2 in the afternoon.
9 to 2.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you doing today?
I was doing... this is the first time I ever brought in a bag of nothing but CDs.
Oh, okay.
A lot of big band stuff and Hit Parade from 1945, and then some Mother's Day things and some hymns that I played. This is the only station I've ever worked at that will allow me to do programming my way.
That's great.
One of the reasons I stay here.
That's wonderful. Well, I have heard many long excerpts of your WJOL program. We kind of overlap a little bit, and I'm always getting busy with my show, but you've been kind enough to send me some tapes, and you have the greatest radio show of all.
Well, that's very nice of you to say that.
Wonderful stuff. I heard your program for Easter, the Saturday before Easter, and it was really nice to hear some of the hymns that you were playing with Anita Bryant and the fellow from the Lawrence Welk Show.
Right, who sang so much like Elvis Presley, I always thought.
Did you think so?
Yeah, didn't you?
Well,
we don't have to discuss
well, I don't think... No, I'm not going to discuss that. I'm going to discuss Dr. K with you. I'm going to discuss all those radio stations you worked with.
We'll do that later.
Okay, well, when are you cutting out of JOL this afternoon?
Right this moment, Brian Carlson is here to take over. I'm going to... I have one more spot to do. I have to talk about my good friends at Bailey's Floor Covering. And after I do that, I'm going to change out of my working clothes into my good clothing.
The blue cape and the red cape and the blue trunks?
Exactly. And then I will come down in the magic chariot here.
Okay. Now, does Larry have? Does he push the animals and the pigs and the chickens off the seat in his pickup truck for you to sit up front, or he's gonna have to ride you in the back?
And he sold the eggs across the street at the hospital. So,
okay.
It's pretty well cleared out.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to greeting you down here in person a little while from now.
Thank you, Chuck.
This is a first for me to be on the air with my show, and then also being on the air on your show.
I wonder if this is an historical first.
No, somebody must have done this before.
Well,
Ernie Simon may have done it before.
Bill O'Connor and I did it in 1954 when he was on WAIT and I was on WCF.
Oh, gee. Well, that's great.
We did it on a morning show one time.
Okay, well, we'll do it in person in a little bit.
Okay.
Thanks, Art.
Thank you, Chuck.
We'll see you. Bye-bye. Art Hellyer on the air in Joliet right now, and he'll be whisking away from there shortly, and will be down here to join us live in our studio in a little while, a little later on this afternoon. And in just a moment from now, we're going to be tuning into the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. But first, I want to tell you about a great getaway place in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. It's the end-of-the-line vacation station. A trackload of Milwaukee Road and Chicago and Northwestern cabooses have been restored on the outside, and inside is a very comfortable hotel room. One of those cabooses is the perfect place for you to get some rest and relaxation in the beautiful scenic setting of Lake Geneva. Each caboose is climate-controlled for your comfort. Each has a queen bed and a sofa bed. Each unit is an entire caboose fully carpeted with a color TV, telephone, and a modern bath and shower. And there's a heated outdoor pool. The end-of-the-line vacation station is a great place for a family getaway in the country. Rates start at $75, and that includes continental breakfast. Plan now for a couple of days of fun that begin with the end-of-the-line vacation station just off Route 50 in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. For a free brochure, for more information, or to make your reservation, call the end-of-the-line vacation station in Lake Geneva at 1-800-747-RAIL. That's 1-800-747-RAIL. Chuck Schaden here on Those Were the Days from 97 FM, WNIB in Chicago, taking you back first off this afternoon to November the 14th of 1948. We have the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. Ozzie and Harriet Nelson portraying themselves on this broadcast. The kids, David and Ricky, are not on this show. They didn't join the cast until, the actual David and Ricky didn't join the cast until 1949. So we have Tommy Bernard and Henry Blair as David and Ricky. It's always a wonderful time when we tune in to the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet.
Where are the boys? Outside playing somewhere.
This is 97 FM, WNIB in Chicago. I'm Chuck Schaden. The program is Those Were the Days every Saturday afternoon from 1 until 5 with all the good old radio sounds. And Art Hellyer is going to be joining us soon here in our studio at the Museum of Broadcast Communications. We just got a call from Larry Peters, who picked up Art at a little bit after 1 o'clock this afternoon, coming in from WJOL in Joliet. He said he's on the way. He's out there now at DeKalb. He's just checking in with us, and he'll be here very soon. DeKalb. Well, he ought to be here soon. I guess there was a detour or something. There was a big pothole, and he made a left turn or something like that. A great collection of Bob and Ray comedy clips is now available at Metro Golden Memories in Chicago, or by mail from the Hall Closet in Morton Grove. Now, we'll tell you how you can add these tapes to your collection right after we hear from Bob Elliott and Ray Goulding.
Now, instead of a traffic report and stock market thing and all that, we bring you another episode of One Fella's Family.
Today's episode entitled Garage Trouble, or rather Garage Trouble, is taken from the book being Chapter II, page 235. And we look in on the family line. We find
Well, Fanny, I thought we got the rose bushes trimmed.
well,
Just in time, too, it was like snow.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun.
Shame we didn't have
Someone
one
told me and said that they were listening to you at least 20 minutes telling me that they were listening to station 3.
I thought I'd like to call up the rose advertiser, find out just whether I'm doing it right or wrong.
I'm sure.
But didn't we have a tweak? All I can remember is the Bob Perkins.
that was the scene of the year.
I wonder if we get any message from
I don't know. Didn't we have a
That's from Classic Bob and Ray, Volume 1, a set of 4 cassette tapes, 4 hours of selections from the career of Bob Elliott and Ray Goulding. It's available for $29.95 plus tax at Metro Golden Memories, 5425 West Addison, 2 miles west of the Kennedy Expressway in Chicago, or by mail when you send $33.95 to the Hall Closet, Box 421, Morton Grove, Illinois, 60053. You get great radio comedy with Bob and Ray and Wally Ballou, Webley Webster, Dean Archer Armstead, Matt Neffer, Boy Spot Welder, Mr. Science, Lawrence Fechtenberger, Interstellar Officer Candidate, Mary Magoon, The Life and Loves of Linda Lovely, and so much more. 4 hours of Bob and Ray on radio from 1946 to 1976. 4 audio cassette tapes in an attractive vinyl album, just $29.95 at Metro Golden Memories in Chicago, or by mail when you send $33.95 complete to the Hall Closet, Box 421, Morton Grove, 60053. Ask for Classic Bob and Ray, Volume 1, a set of 4 audio cassette tapes, $29.95 plus tax at Metro Golden Memories in Chicago, or by mail for $33.95 from the Hall Closet, Box 421, Morton Grove, Illinois, 60053.
Now you has Mr. Barrett Dean. Well, folks, this is your old friend Barrett Dean, the drummer man, once again. The first time I ever played over the radio was in 1938 when I was with violinists Joe Benuti and the swing band. After that, there were many times over the next 20 years when the radio station would run a line to the hotel where we played and broadcast direct. During the 1940s, it was with Muggsy Spanier, Jimmy Dorsey, and others. During the 50s, it was mostly when I played drums for the Lewis Armstrong All-Stars. So you see, I go way back with old-time radio. For at least 30 years, I've been getting shoes at Paul Meyer Shoe Stores. First in Edmonton, and now at 4106 Oakland in Skokie. So I go back with that store a long time. My foot is hard to fit, but the Paul Meyer Shoe Store always makes sure there's something here for me. So you try there, and maybe I'll see you.
We have Fibber McGee and Molly coming up next. I do want to take a half a second to remind you that, well, to tell you something about Those Were the Days radio players. Of course, there was a good group here last Sunday doing some fine work in our Those Were the Days studio here at the Museum of Broadcast Communications. Right now, even as we speak, a group of Those Were the Days players from the northwest side of Chicago are performing at the Palmer House before the Association of University Women. That's this afternoon, and they're putting on their version of, not their version, they're recreating radio scripts of It Pays to Be Ignorant and The First Nighter. So our folks are all over. We have a half a dozen groups throughout the Chicago area, all volunteers, all people who just love the old radio shows, and they're researching, finding scripts, learning how to do a live radio broadcast, but they basically don't broadcast them, but they show audiences all around what it was like to attend a radio show in the good old days. And so we have all kinds of groups doing this sort of thing. So it's a wonderful get-together. And these folks have met a lot of nice friends, and it's just, you bridge the sound gap, we say on Saturdays. They're bridging an age gap, too. We've got very young people. We've got people in their teenage, retired people, all working together, sharing a common interest. It's wonderful to see these folks. see these folks perform. And there's a sincerity about this group. I mean, everybody is not a Charlton Heston, you know, but they all have a great a desire to show the audience what it was like to do a radio show in those days. And of course, usually on the second Sunday of every month, there's a group here performing at the museum. This Sunday is Mother's Day tomorrow, so no group performing tomorrow. They did perform last week. But the next Sunday performance here at the museum will be on Sunday, well, the second Sunday in June. Father's Day is the week later, so they wouldn't care for Father's Day. Father's Day doesn't matter. You do the thing on Father's Day. Mother's Day, no, you can't do it. Father's Day, what the heck? Leave him alone. He wants to watch the game. Okay, as we continue now on 97 FM WNIB in Chicago, going back to 50 years ago, about a month shy of 50 years ago, April the 6th of 1943. This is the Johnson's Wax program with Jim and Marion Jordan, a good cast in here. Incidentally, Arthur Q. Bryan, who had been on the program as a regular in a variety of roles, ultimately became Dr. Gamble, Doc Gamble on the show. This particular broadcast is the first time that Arthur Q. Bryan appears as Doc Gamble on the show. There's a kind of a nice little World War II flavor to this broadcast as well, as we tune in to Fibber McGee and Molly.
The Johnson Wax program with Fibber McGee and Molly.
Chuck Schaden here on Those Were the Days from 97 FM WNIB in Chicago. Won't you welcome, please, our very special guest, Mr. Art Hellyer. Art, welcome.
Thank you very much, Chuck. Nice to be here with you.
We're delighted that you came down this afternoon. You're putting in a long day. You've been on the air this morning since 9 o'clock out at WJOL in Joliet. And here you are, and none the worse for wear.
None the worse, thanks to you sending Larry out to pick me up.
Larry was delighted to come out that way. He's charging us 43 cents a mile, he said, per diem also.
Well, I will say this. We drove in at 90 to 100 miles an hour the entire way, and I do question that a bit, though. But he had his belt on.
He had his belt on, right. And usually he has a belt before he takes off there. There's a few chicken feathers sticking out of your sport coat there.
Yeah, but he did sell the eggs across the street at the hospital.
Ah, that's right. Art, I'm so delighted that you've come down to be with us this afternoon on our program. It's a very special treat. I have admired your work ever since I can remember. I always listened to you when you were on the radio in Chicago, and I listen to you whenever I can when you're out in Joliet, and wherever you've been, I've certainly enjoyed that. I was telling my wife this morning, I said, I can't believe, I said, here Art Hellyer is going to be a guest of mine on my radio show, and how much back we got married. My wife and I got married in 1956, and we used to listen to you every morning on WCFL.
Right, which is the loop now. Yeah,
it's AM 1000, right?
Right.
Yeah, and the fun we had, the creativity that you brought to radio was wonderful.
Well, I had an amazing record turner. If you'll recall, July 12th of 1988, you had us on WBBM the 2 hours that Sunday night. And Lenny Kaye I'm referring to, and of course he's gone now. But he anticipated anything I would do. Lenny was ready to fire voice tracks. I mean, now today, Chuck, as you well know, better than anyone, all the voice tracks are done by computer. Back then, Lenny had 5 or 6 stacks of records, 78s, 45s, and 33s. And he'd wear white gloves so he could get right to them and handle them quickly. And I would say something like, my goodness, Mayor Daley just walked in here. And the next thing I know, I'd see him whipping through records. He would cue right to a line. And I would say, and what has the good mayor to say today? And in would come a voice saying, you know what? You tell me, Chuck.
Well, he'd say anything.
Yeah, there's no light in the men's room.
There's no light in the men's room.
Right. Yeah, things like that. Or get a nickel back on every bottle.
Get a nickel back on every bottle, Jim. Yeah.
I think that's always been your favorite.
I love those. Yeah.
Lenny had he was the most talented, most unusual individual I've ever known, and he was responsible, really, for the job we did, becoming #1 in Chicago all those years.
Now, you were really not a disc jockey.
No.
In the purest sense of the word. You occasionally played some music, some records on the show.
Well, I always used to say I would play music as a fill between commercials.
Well, that was one of the great things, actually, the success that you brought to radio was because of the listeners that you brought the sponsors, and the sponsors were there, and you had some very long-running sponsors.
Yes.
I mean, I'm trying to remember, like Downtown Nash, but you put them out. They went out of business.
They went out of business before I did. I'm still at it. They're long gone, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you had many long-running sponsors, and they stayed with you, and you would kid the sponsors, you would make fun of the sponsors, and program directors from one station after another had lost their hair and their wits and their sense of humor.
Well, what did they know about radio?
Well, that's true. Program directors, right?
And managers. What do they know about radio, Chuck?
Yeah. I have a clip. Ted Schulte, one of your fans.
Well, Ted Schulte, I cannot tell you how many commercials I did for him. Kellogg's, Royal Crown Cola, Buster Brown Shoes, when he was with Leo Burnett.
Well, Ted made a tape of an appearance of yours at the Chicagoland Fair.
Really?
Back in I guess it was 1957.
I'm not even aware of that.
You were doing you remember this, a remote from Navy Pier?
Oh my, do we have to go into that?
A remote from Navy, can you remember that scene there?
Well, let me put it this way. I remember the week very well. And the date of my demise at WCFL was July 12th, 1957, which was also the worst rainstorm, the date of the worst rainstorm in Chicago history. But July 12th of 1957, I hope he doesn't have that date. Is that the one you have, Mr. Schulte?
No,
We've been friends an awful long time. I don't want it to end here or not.
This is just circa 1957. Don't have a specific date. Ted works, volunteers, a lot of volunteer work here at the Museum of Broadcast Communications in the area, especially of oral histories.
Right.
And he knows now today the value of dates on things, see? But when he recorded this thing off the air, I guess it was in 1957, maybe it was 1957 or so, but it probably...
Well, Friday, July 12, 1957 was my famous day at WCFL. This was the strange thing about that week. My show was on from 6 until 9:30 in the morning. The trade show opened at 10. Why was I doing my show out there every morning? Nobody was there.
No, you mean at Navy Pier?
Yeah.
No, you were doing, this was a Saturday night.
Okay, one Saturday night
Saturday night
did.
Special, yeah.
Yeah, and Hogan brought in, Marty Hogan was the general manager, and he stopped in. Do you have him on there?
Yes.
Because he had a few.
Obviously, telling you about, he had a few people in his office to discuss the programming concept.
To discuss selling of the program, that sort of thing. Exactly.
Well, this is, we're going to play just a few minutes of this, but you're going to hear that you have never failed to credit Lenny Kaye with doing such a good job for you. And this really almost takes a big spotlight and puts it right on Lenny Kaye, because this is typical Art Hellyer stuff from that period of time.
May I tell you how he was dressed also?
Lenny?
Yeah, I called him Dr. K, TT, transcription technician. So as Dr. K, we got for him from my doctor out in Skokie. His name was Dr. Kokatek. Yeah, still out there, Dr. Kokatek. And we got one of his gowns and a stethoscope and the cap, and that's what he was wearing that night when he was operating the turntables on that Saturday night. Dr. K was. Really?
Well, this is...
Well, you have a picture in the Nostalgia Digest.
In the April-May issue of the Digest,
where he's
there's a
wearing
picture.
that outfit.
Oh, that's right. He does have that
same outfit. And that was our finest broadcast studio, by the way, that you have pictured
It's one of the great, all-time great studios, right?
They were getting ready to build a toll road, and that was a condemned farm, and we found that building on the condemned farm.
I want to get into this tape now. We're going to listen to Dr. K and Dr. H, Art Hellyer, broadcasting from Navy Pier during the Chicagoland Fair. And this also gives you a great idea of Art and his great regard and respect for all his clients, the sponsors who have come to support what you've done over the years, right? Uh-oh. Let's listen to Art Hellyer.
Hi, this is Art Helier, and we're doing something a little different out here. We're working out here at the Chicagoland Fair tonight, and
What's the matter? The mic dead? Oh, is this one all right? And right now, I'm seated out here in Dr. K's dinghy, right off Navy Pier here at the Chicago Fair. There's a bunch of monkeys down outside the window. Look at all this place. Joe Simeon, Ed Simeon, Sally Simeon, Pete Simeon, they're all out there. But we're out here at the Chicagoland Fair, and we don't have studio facilities, as the boys have been telling you that, but that is a misnomer. Actually, we have a boat just off the end of the pier, and we're working from that right now. When we came in here tonight, got a big kick out of the program. Don McCarty, have you seen the program they sell you when you come in for 35 cents? Good, huh? They gave it away at the Tribune 2 weeks ago. Did you see it? Did you see that program out there? They knock you over the head and take 35 cents from your pocket for a Chicagoland Fair program, and 2 weeks ago it came free with the Sunday Tribune. How'd that chicken get out here in the lake? Hey, the first, we're supposed to be working. Is this one of your accounts, Jim Collins? Really? I never thought you'd be associated with one like this. I thought you had the high-class accounts on the station. A little surprised at you. We're working for People's Pontiac. They're good friends of mine, actually. Al Rosenstein and Bill Stone and Phil Berman, and all the boys out there, Mr. Schneider out the west side. They're all real nice people. People's Pontiac did a lot of television for them, and now they're just about going broke, so they're buying radio. It's 6 minutes past 8. And, we don't have the temperature out here, do we? The sort of thing we do in the morning. The White Sox won one this afternoon. The Sox won that ball game 5-1. Come to think of it. Dr. K, for you folks standing outside the studio here, this is Dr. K over here. Did you get a good look at him? That's Dr. K. Doctor, you have something for us?
Rock and roll fans, here's the latest platter from the ever-popular Pepper Pot birthday.
Couldn't hear it. John Kudelek, we have the station's worst engineer assigned to us, too, by the way, tonight. Really, I don't know how that happened. Ordinarily, they're very nice to us. We have fellows like Ernie Notcher and Ted Swanson, but tonight we got John Kudelek for some strange reason, and we almost had Mike Cozy on the turntables, the station's worst turntable operator. But Dr. K is here with us. Doctor, do you have some nice music prepared for us tonight? You can speak, you know. You tell me what it is. We don't have a music sheet. We haven't planned anything at all. We're supposed to speak about People's Pontiac, and Collins will have a fit over there, I suppose, if I don't. People's Pontiac, the largest Pontiac sales center in Chicagoland, and whether Marv Gray is listening or not, I'm not going to read 8 or 10 commercials that long. Look at the length of these things. Look outside the window. That'd be a crime to have to listen to that much, wouldn't it? Would you people want to hear commercials that long? Throw them all away. There'll be no commercials at all for People's Pontiac tonight. Music! And here at the pier, at Navy Pier, at the Chicagoland Fair, friends, we have the WCFL dancing girls dancing for you now, back and forth on the stage in their lovely costumes. 89 girls, 88 costumes. Hi there, Adele.
Hi, boy. If you think our show is happy, you'll make us feel grand, and you'll make us very happy, just like clapping your hands. Say good evening, folks. We're up and well as you can. Through a sunny little frolic-you, sleepy little frolic-you, sandy little frolic-you show.
Girls, the lovely WCFL dancing girls appearing here at Navy Pier. We're going to have Mr. Rosenstein drive in an automobile in just a moment. The gentleman who owns People's Pontiac. Don McCarty's on the telephone. I'm going to have to caution you, Don, that I'm doing the talking here, and you just wait till 9 o'clock when you're back on. You're on in what, till 10:30 from out here at the pier, huh? How much did it cost to get in here? 90 cents. 90 cents. Cost us a lot of headaches to get in here tonight. Park the car. I would like to call Mr. David X. Myers. And Mr. Myers, would you please call the parking lot on Urin Street and tell them that I do have a monthly ticket, and I am allowed to park in there. Had a big battle with them tonight. Dr. K got picked up by the police coming in. Always. That was a terrible time with them.
But we want to talk to you right now about People's Pontiac, tell you that a sales riot's going on over there because actually they've turned People's Pontiac into just a tremendous What's the phone ringing about? Where's that? Is that from Johnny again, Kudelek? He just likes to hear his name heard on the air. We'll mention Mrs. Collins, too. See, she smiled now. Oh, she's a pretty girl.
Maybe that was fine.
I can't hear it. Johnny, give me some more volume, will you? We're rehearsing, actually, for Wednesday night, and we'll be on.
Thank you, Mamie. That was fine. Fine.
Mamie. This is the Mamie Hellyer Show, friends, and we're here tonight. We're here ordinarily on weekday mornings, 6:45 till 9:30 on WCFL. We want to tell you about the wonderful cars they have at People's Pontiac. 56 Pontiacs, as little as $1,495, full price right now. Any of you people out there drive a Pontiac? Do you? I don't know why anybody would want to, really, but if you are looking for a good deal on a Pontiac, then what you want...
I have to change the copy.
Don McCarty, this is our assistant program director, Don McCarty here, and he's changing the copy. We have a message from Mr. Rosenstein right now.
This is Indiana's first broad chasing station.
WCFL Chicago, 1000 on your dial. But these 56 Pontiacs are yours for, believe it or not, $1,495. Don't change any prices on me, Don. I'm already quoting them. And friends, if you'll watch back here at the back of the booth now, Mr. Rosenstein, what's the matter here with the mic cord? Mr. Rosenstein, if you'll bring that car right in. This is a beautiful Pontiac he's bringing in. Mr. Rosenstein, bring that car right in. Drive it right in here. That's it. Carefully, right through the studio. Watch it. Careful with the... Anybody out there like to buy a junky Pontiac? Give me the copy again. We'll find out what that is for 14. Mr. Rosenstein, I'm going to ask you, please, sir, he's doing it to the same car. Please don't do that to the 1956 Pontiac. This one was priced at $1,495. Anybody out there like to buy it? $35. People's Pontiac. As little as $1,495, full price at People's Pontiac right now, and a payment of $59.90 a month with no money down. That'll include Hydromatic, radio and heater, white wall tires, two-tone styling. $59.90 a month, all interest and carrying charges included, too. People's, where more people pick Pontiac as their car. 2 locations north. Yep, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled Pontiacs. People's Pontiac, where more people pick Pontiac as their car. I used to see that on television. Stand there with a straight face and lie for these people. Say, more people pick Pontiacs at People's than any other place in the world. 3150 Ogden, corner Ogden and Kedzie, and then also 5940 Northwestern Avenue, right the corner of Peterson. Open tomorrow, Sunday, all day. Open on Sunday, and I don't like that because I think car dealers should be closed all day on Sunday. I really do. The governor vetoed the bill, and somebody ought to veto the governor. The time is 8:13. What's going on over here? Hey, our custodian is carrying his purse.
And be sure to listen next week when the topic of the sermon will be Cast Thy Broad Upon the Waters.
Yes, that's the topic of the sermon here on WCFL tomorrow. Would you like to repeat that for them? For a minute, I thought we were going to hear that horrible Jack Carey announcement for Arlington Park again. Carey produced that thing in his basement. Have you heard it? He wrote it. He sings on it. You've all heard Jack Carey, haven't you? Here's a program note.
And be sure to listen next week when the topic of the sermon will be Cast Thy Broad Upon the Waters. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
WCFL Chicago, 1000 on your dial. The time, 8:14. Does anybody know what the temperature is? It's doggone hot. It must be around 90.
We take you now to BBC in England.
Good evening, friends. We're speaking to you from BBC in London, England. This is Vic Bonds, WCFL's newscaster for London, England, bringing you this broadcast. And here she is, the Queen.
We have no respect for anyone.
I'll tell you, it's a shame you were so laid back, Art.
I've led a very quiet monastic life. I really have.
You know, the joy of listening to that, even a few years after the fact, was part of the joy of hearing it was the fun that you were obviously having doing it.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I mean, you were having a good time with it, and you were just running roughshod over everybody. But there was, you know, the thing about it, there was absolutely no malice in there.
No.
You were not angry at anybody. You were just having a good time, and you used all the resources that you had.
It was just malice in Wonderland. That's about what it was.
And, you know, describing Dr. K doing, you know, finding all the records and doing the right thing.
Well, you got to hear it there. I had no idea Ted Schulte had found something like that. And Ted, thank you very much. I got a big kick out of it. I had no idea anything like that was still around.
It's amazing. You have had a terrific career in radio. You've had to fight for what you wanted to do, and what you wanted to do was what you thought was the right thing to entertain the audiences. And I know it's been over all the years. When was your first radio broadcast, Art?
January 1st, 1947.
1947.
Charleston, West Virginia, and it started out by the man who was the custodian the night before, a brand new radio station. I was doing the first broadcast, 5 in the morning, 15-minute newscast. Waverly Graverly was the name of the custodian. And the night before, he had turned off the news machines. So I came in to start my shift, first time ever on the air. With a 15-minute newscast, there's no news. I had to run down the restaurant and buy the local paper. But later on in that day, Bob Gelder, the manager, called him at home. This is a New Year's Day, and asked Waverly Graverly why those news machines were off. And he said, well, somebody went home last night and left them running, so I turned them off. And no one ever turns off a news machine.
He was trying to do his good deed, right? And it was New Year's Eve. He figured that partying at the station, everybody decided to go home early or whatever and leave it on.
Right.
We're talking with our guest, Art Hellyer, who has honored us by coming downtown today to be with us in our Hall of Fame radio studio here at the Museum of Broadcast Communications. We have lots more with Art Hellyer and lots of sounds, and we're going to get lots of good stories, I think, and we're going to talk about a very fascinating man and his career as we continue in just a bit. Chuck Schaden on Those Were the Days from 97 FM. This is WNIB in Chicago. Our program is sponsored in part by Cragen Federal Bank.
I'm refinancing because rates took a fall. I count on Cragen for no points at all. For refinancing, they make a house call. That's Cragen's service with no points at all. My monthly payments just got mighty small thanks to Cragen Refinancing with no points at all. The process is simple. No must, fuss, or stall. That's Cragen Refinancing with no points at all.
Now's the time to refinance, and Cragen Federal Bank is the place. Because with Cragen, you'll pay no points at all, and you could qualify for a home equity line of credit, too. What's more, with Cragen, you'll have just one loan officer and one lending institution throughout your loan. Why, Cragen will even come to your home or office to arrange refinancing. And in case you missed the point, with no points at all.
Cragen Federal Bank for Savings and Equal Housing Lender offers no points on new mortgages as well. For current rates, call 1-312-889-LOAN. Made it. Chuck Schaden on Those Were the Days, 97 FM, WNIB, Chicago. St. Bernadette School for Special Children at 3265 West Armitage Avenue in Chicago is a private school approved by the Illinois State Board of Education and contracted by the Chicago Board of Education. It serves a wide range of special students, including the trainable and educable mentally handicapped, children with learning disabilities, those with behavior disorders, and emotionally disturbed children. Students range from ages 3 to 16. The goal of St. Bernadette School for Special Children is to fully develop the educational potential in each student and provide special therapeutic services such as speech and language, occupational and physical therapy, plus swimming and physical education. St. Bernadette School calendar consists of an 11-month program each year, 5 hours a day, Monday through Friday, from August to July. Hot lunches are provided daily, including days of field trips. Children are taught to eat with proper utensils and are given self-help skills. The staff at St. Bernadette School for Special Children consists of certified teachers and therapists. The teacher-student ratio is 1 to 5 with a teacher's aide. A 1-to-1 ratio is provided as needed with an individual tutor. Academic materials match the learning ability of each student's visual and auditory coordination. At St. Bernadette's, communication skills are provided by speech and language therapists on an individual basis. If you know of a child or have a child or grandchild who you think might benefit from St. Bernadette School for Special Children, call the administrator at 312-276-4079. That's St. Bernadette School for Special Children, 3265 West Armitage Avenue in Chicago. Phone 312-276-4079. Our guest is Art Hellyer this afternoon on our Those Were the Days program, and we're on a roll, so we're going to continue chatting with Art here. We have a few other things to do. But you know, I have a feeling that this World War II program, This Is Our Enemy, I think we're going to put that on the shelf today. Now, don't worry, we'll reschedule it, and we will play it as part of our radio in World War II. But I'm going to take advantage of the fact that Art Hellyer is here this afternoon, and we're going to spend the rest of our show chatting with this guy and playing some of the sounds of the great broadcast that he provided. Art, when
you have more of these?
I have more things. Yeah.
Where did you get
this? This is called the blackmail. You worked with an awful lot of people in Chicago over the years. You're talking about Jack Carey before. Now he was staff announcer at WCFL.
Yes, and he followed me each morning after my show. He was then on up until noon. Jack Carey, even today, is one of the big officers in AFTRA.
That's right. Yes,
sure. He's a past president too. Yeah, sure.
So. And of course, you worked with
and one of the stuffiest guys I ever. No, that was 1957, wasn't it? That's
57.
Right.
Well, now, what you were saying before that you got bounced from WCFL in 1957.
July 12th.
Why?
I had gone to do my show that morning at Navy Pier, the very show that Ted had from the preceding Saturday night. And we were doing the morning show, and as I said, I was off at 9:30. And the show didn't open till 10. I to this day, haven't figured out why I was doing my show the each morning. Well, Monday morning, I got in fine. They had called over and said I'd be there to do my show, told the guards. And then, or Monday, I didn't get in. I went back to the studio, walked back from Navy Pier to the old Furniture Mart where the studios were then. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the guards were alerted to the fact we were indeed to be there to do our radio program. Well, Friday, they had the Monday staff on again. And they wouldn't let us in.
You mean on Monday morning when you showed up, they said, we have no authorization for you to be here, we're not going to let you in?
Exactly. No, no way. So Monday I walked back to the studios, did the show from the studio. Well, Friday I thought, well, surely the Monday crew knows about it by now. So there was a bit of a discussion at the door. I didn't say altercation. Bit of a discussion. I did get in. Some glass was broken. A couple of garbage cans were hurled. And just your usual morning show group coming to work, you know. And I don't drink either, by the way. And I did get in, but the guard was standing there with a 1927 Thompson submachine gun. And he held that gun on my left shoulder. And he was from the First National Bank. They had $1 million display. And I walked the distance to our studio, glassed-in area studio, with that Tommy gun on my left shoulder, and he stood there holding that gun on my shoulder as Ernie Notcher, the engineer, opened my mic, and Lenny got ready to start throwing the voices and noises and everything at me. And I made a few remarks about how he's standing there with his 1927 Thompson, and that Bob Elson would be going over to the bank later in the day, and when he took his money out, it would fold. Just a few little things like that, you know. I mean, nothing serious. And well, I got fired. No, here's what happened later in the day. I was doing commercials for Standard Oil that afternoon for the old Darcy agency. I was doing Standard Oil commercials and at Universal, and I got a call from Marty Hogan, the manager at WCFL. He said, "You get over here right now." And I said, "I can't. I'm doing commercials for Standard. Get over here. Get over here." And I said, "I can't come over now." I did go over there about 5 o'clock, and he was there. It was just starting to rain, by the way. And I got over there, and as I came into his office, he said, "You're going to record this announcement, a full apology for what happened this morning. It will run a number of times over the weekend before you come in here and do your show again Monday morning." And I said, "Well, I have to call my dad, who's my attorney." He put his hand on the phone. I've never forgotten it. He said, "You make this announcement or you don't work here anymore." And I said, "I don't work here anymore." The following Monday, Dr. K and I were on WAIT. He followed right along. He could have stayed at CFL. Lenny came along with me. Yeah. He was really loyal. He was a great guy.
Well, they didn't want to hear your side of the story or anything else?
No.
It really didn't have anything to do with the fact that the guard was holding his Tommy gun on you. It was what you had said.
No.
Well, who was upset?
Oh,
the bank? Did the bank say they
no, the bank was not upset. In fact, my dad was a friend. My dad was an attorney in Chicago for years, very well known. And Dad talked to a man named Brown, forget his first name now. He was president of the First National Bank, and he thought it was very funny. It was the ad agency that raised Holy Ned about it. And they weren't even on the station.
The ad agency for the bank?
Yeah, for First National Bank. And they weren't even on the station.
And it was actually, in a way, it was a plug.
Do you want to know who the ad agency was, too? Do I mention those? It was Foote Cone and Belding, by the way. They were just a small outfit, you know.
Well, they never make
right,
it.
Ted Schulte? just a little
that kind of
teensy.
an attitude.
It was not Homer
So
Hector,
now, the next Monday,
yeah,
over the weekend, you're on WAIT.
Yeah,
now, how did that?
Well, I have to tell
how did
you
you
funny.
line that up so fast?
Well, that night when I went home, I had my little 1952 MG, my red one. Ted Schulte remembers it.
Not a Pontiac.
You know, no. I've never owned a Pontiac. Come think of it. But I was driving that home. We didn't have expressways in those days. I was coming out Peterson. We lived in Skokie. Soki, as I called it, because our basement always got it. October 10th, 1954, July 12th, 1957, and July 3rd, 1962. We had rainstorms that were unbelievable here in Chicagoland, and each time I'd get on the air, I'd refer to it as Soki, Illinois, of course. And we got out of there the following week to the house we live in now, well away from there. But I was driving home, and it was raining badly. And that night, we had over $10,000 damage in a completely finished-off basement and everything.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, it was a terrible, terrible rainstorm. And the next morning, Elaine and I and it took us until the following November to get the place cleaned up. And here we are trying to get the thing cleaned up the next morning, and a police reporter shows up from the Chicago American. He's standing on our front porch. The police reporter, a little ferret, and and he really and he wants the complete story of what happened. And the American did run it. And
You mean what happened with the Navy Pier thing, right?
Right, the Navy Pier. And in the meantime, a fellow named Bob Miller, I used to call him Old BM on his station, and Bob Miller called me over the weekend and asked me if we'd like to go to work for him. So the following Monday morning, Lenny and I were working on WAIT, doing the same show over there that we had done on WCFL.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And it was the same hours?
Exactly.
Basically the same hours?
Exactly. Yeah. We enjoyed clobbering CFL. That was a great sport.
You never went back then to CFL anymore after that?
No.
And that was at the end of the Marty Hogan era for you, right?
Yeah. Marty died in March of '59. Yeah.
Now you always used to kid Marty Hogan on the air about he was the general manager, right, or the program.
The day he hired me, he said, "Art, you have carte blanche. You are to do as you please." And I took him at his word, and I was in trouble with him all the time.
Well, you have had
oh boy, was I in trouble with him.
over the years. You have always kind of locked in with program directors and general managers of radio stations, because I think you have always had a feeling that these people did not respect your ability and have a great regard for your talent as an entertainer, and they were always part of the establishment, and they wanted to have they were very stuffy and bottom line oriented and all of that sort of thing, and had no sense of humor, right?
Well, you said it all. I can't add a thing.
Yeah, I mean, basically that's the way you felt. And I know if you would make some statement on the air, have made some statements on the air, and you could take a map of all the radio stations in Chicago and throw a dart at it, and it would land in the call letters of any radio station, and you probably repeated this scenario at these stations. You would say something on the air, and everything that you said on the air, none of it was in poor taste.
I never said one dirty word. I never used one cuss word.
No, never anything like that. But you were just, usually nailing.
I would denigrate management.
That's right. That's right.
I always felt that I had been placed on this earth to puncture pomposity. I think
Very good.
I think that would explain it.
Well, they would tell you off the air.
And naturally, I would say, no, I won't.
Oh, that's
And
right. And you wouldn't.
You haven't even said anything yet, or they
That's
might
right.
have said. And I'd say, no way.
Well, I know, but sometimes they would say, Art, we don't want you to do this anymore because
So I
it's
do it.
station policy. But sometimes you would say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. Okay.
Right.
And you won't do it. Then they come up with a memo underscoring what they said to you in person, verbally.
Right.
And then, of
And
course, the next
I would
day,
read it to
you'd
a
read the
music-
memo. Yeah.
And Lenny, Dr. K would give me a musical background for it. Always.
And so then you would tell your listening audience, I am no longer able to say this or to talk about this. And of course, the audience then would be infuriated. And that the first guy through the door, like a flash, would be Marty Hogan or some other station manager again, right?
Well, I've always said, now you say Marty Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
I started saying this is my 46th year in radio. I started saying this a good 40 years ago, that every station I've worked at, the people are the same people, they just have different names. Yeah, so when you say Marty Hogan, you might as well be saying any of the other ones, too.
Well, I don't mean to pick on Marty Hogan, but I know that...
Why not? He's gone.
Well, how long were you at WAIT then?
We were there 57, 58, 59, and then I said over the air one day that... I said, Elaine, pack the kids up, we're going on a trip. I had a Volkswagen bus. Long before Iacoku thinks he invented those things in '82, even thought of them. I had a Volkswagen bus of 56. I said, pack up everything. We're going to take a trip coast to coast with the kids and really let them see everything. And I announced that on my morning show. So I got home and we packed up and we just left. That was it. And
well, had the station been given any notice on this that you were going to do that?
I said it. I said it on the air, didn't I? Didn't I say it on the air? What better notice is there? What better notice than saying it right on the air, Chuck?
Wasn't the program director listening to your every word?
Yes, and he was quite disturbed.
Oh, so this was his notice, and he felt it wasn't satisfactory, right?
No, right.
So then you left.
Sure.
In a Huff or a Volkswagen?
Not a Huff, although I have owned a couple Huffs. They are very nice. No.
Once you left in a Snit, yeah.
Yes, and a 1932 Snit, a beautiful automobile. Right, right, had white walls.
So now you were on the road with Elaine and the family for how long?
62 days.
62 days.
And Elaine doesn't drive. I drive it all in a car that won't go over 55. Coast to coast.
So you saw the USA then?
Yes, not in our Chevrolet.
Okay. Then what? When you came back?
Oh, you won't believe this one. I worked one day in Buffalo, New York. You never heard this one, did you? No.
One day in Buffalo?
One day in Buffalo, New York. An agent in New York who had heard me over the years contacted me, and he said, I've got a job for you at WBNY in Buffalo, New York. He said, Charlie so-and-so has heard your work, and he wants you. So I said, well, I was a dead duck in Chicago at that time. You know how it is.
Yeah, sure.
You're hot or you're cold, one or the other. You're never in between. So I remember, wait till I tell you how I got to Buffalo. I had pneumonia. And so I was just getting over pneumonia. This is March 19th, 1959. I drive my car over to O'Hare. I leave it at O'Hare. Howie Roberts, bless him, picked the car up and drove it back to the house for me. I then took Chicago Helicopter Airways to Midway, where I got aboard an American Airlines Convair. That then took off, and we got halfway to Detroit, and we're bouncing all over the sky, and here's the one stewardess on the thing. You don't call them, what do you call them now? Flight attendants.
Flight attendant.
I don't want to step on any toes.
Oh, for heaven forfend that you would step on anybody's toes.
The stew was stretched out in the front seat, and she was being quite ill from the storm we were in. We get over Detroit, we're told we can't land. They go to Cleveland, we're told we can't land there. Then we're told we're low on fuel, we're going to have to land in Cleveland. So we landed in this blizzard at Cleveland, and the first thing I see, the only thing I can see, is the yellow and red Shell truck outside the window. They're refueling it. The pilot and co-pilot get back on with a new hostess, and they explain we're now going to fly to Detroit. It's open, so they fly to Detroit. I got off at Detroit. I wasn't going to go through any more of this. I then had to take a Greyhound bus 19 miles to downtown Detroit, where I then walked to the railroad station. I caught the Wolverine, took it overnight, got in at 3 o'clock in the morning to Buffalo, Then my bags were out at the airport. I'd left them on American Airlines. I had to take a cab. The snow's this high in Buffalo. I had to take a cab. Then I had a reservation at the Hilton. I got back into the Hilton at 4:30, went up to my room. I was on the air at 6, took a nap for a half hour or so. Then I got on the air, and I saw the music was all rock. Well, I hadn't been told this. I apologize to your engineer and to the young people here. I hadn't been told that it was rock, and I don't play rock music. I don't play that. So I threw all the music out the window into the main street of downtown Buffalo. Chuck, you're getting a story out of me I've never told before. I threw all the records out into the street, and I had brought along a big case of my own records. And I put my own stuff on, and I had voice tracks that Lenny had queued up for me, that had dubbed off for me. We didn't have tape then. They were on disc, the 12-inch discs. So I'm using these voice tracks, and the manager, of course, saying the same lines that Mayor Daley would say and so on. So he calls in, and he's hollering and screaming at me and everything. I just kept hanging up on him. I kept on doing my show. My show was to go 6 till 9. At 9 o'clock, I got out of there. I ran back to the Hilton a couple blocks, and I told the fellow at the desk, I will not take any phone calls till 4:30. No phone calls. I knew I was going to get fired. No phone calls till 4:30. Exactly at 4:30, I'm wakened by the phone. Get over here as fast as you can. I was paid off, and I was on the New York Central coming home that night. One show in Buffalo. And I'll never forget what the manager told me. He said, you got away with far more than Jack Parr did, and I fired him, too. I'll never forget that.
He certainly had an ear for talent, didn't he? Well, now,
Chuck,
why?
You do have a way of interviewing, don't you?
Why did you...
What?
What possessed you to... I mean, okay, you don't play rock.
The devil did it.
And you take your own music and you play that, or your own cuts and stuff.
I didn't like
why
the
would
music.
you throw the stuff out on the street?
Why not get rid of it?
Well, I mean,
I didn't want it there contaminating my studio.
Somebody else is going to go on at 9 o'clock.
Well, that
what did that guy do?
Who knows? I was in bed back at the Hilton.
Art Hellyer is our wonderful guest this afternoon.
This is true
on
confession
Those
time.
Were the Days.
I never
We're getting
told
the
that
stuff
before. You are
That's a great
marvelous
story.
interviewer.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. You're certainly you're an idol of mine, I have to say. We have all right. We're gonna do some more some clips here from you. We have something from we're back at WCFL now. Apparently, this was the only station you stayed long enough for them to record anything.
Well, can I say something real quickly here?
Sure.
Larry Peters just handed this to me, a note from a listener named Jim Dickinson, I believe it is. He says, tell them about WBBM and the hog belly prices. Well, I used to do a live show. You played it. You have a couple, the live half-hour shows I did with
with the Music Wagon or
Supper Club.
Supper Club.
Yeah, with the live orchestra and all. And this one night, they were 2 minutes short. So the producer runs into the studio to me, and he says, we're 2 minutes short. So I said, I'll take care of it. So I ran down the hall to the newsroom, and I ripped off the first thing I could find on the news machine. And I went back, and for 2 minutes, I read hog belly prices and filled the time. I had forgotten that one. Thank you, Larry. I interrupted you, though. That was very rude of me.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I apologize.
I figured I haven't got it. I haven't made it in this business until you've interrupted me. And I thank you too, Art, for all the plugs that you give this program and our store, Metro-Goldwyn Memories, on your WJOL radio show. You're very kind to talk about us.
It's a great
and
program. I listen to this one. I listen to the one on WBBM every night. Mostly I fall asleep during it. But I
have a way with listeners.
No, it's not you. It's the hour they switched you to, which was very unfair in my opinion. They should not have done that, but that's the way radio stations operate. And to BBM...
Oh, no. Hey, this is WBBM's 25th anniversary as an all-news station.
I don't care about that either. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Now, Art,
look,
wait a minute.
Bowie,
I'm not throwing anything out the window here.
All these kids know at BBM is, this is our 25th anniversary. Phooey! It's the 70th anniversary. since the Atlas brothers came up from Lincoln, Illinois, and founded that wonderful
Well,
station.
it is the 70th anniversary.
It is, and they don't mention the great people, the Mal Belairs people, the Jim Conways, the Paul Gibsons, the Lee Phillips, the John Harringtons, all these people that made WBBM. Not this baloney. Anybody can sit there and read news. Anyone. I've done it. Anyone can sit there and read news. Big deal.
Well, this
big deal.
Well, I must say, I have to say, I'm not going to argue with you on that.
Okay.
But I have to say that I do a weekend show on BBM.
I know, 8 until 10,
And
Saturday night and Sunday night, and I thoroughly enjoy that.
We're doing a program at 8 o'clock following the 25th anniversary celebration, but at 8 o'clock we're going to do a program with 5 of the WBBM veterans, including Jim Conway and Mel Belairs and Tommy Bartlett and Billy Leach.
Tommy Bartlett is 79 years old this year.
That's right, yeah.
Because when we got together for the 65th, he said on the air he was 74.
Yeah,
remember that?
That's right, he is.
He's 79 this year.
Anyway, so we're marking the 70th anniversary. Okay.
Yeah. Good.
And this may be the
They're
last
the
program.
important people.
Absolutely. Art Hellyer broadcast now from 1955. Another thing from WCFL. This is, you had a lot of sponsors on this. You were, according to this, at this time, this is November the 14th of 1955. A bunch of sponsors, including Robert Hall and Crosstown Motors. You had a lot of automobile sponsors over the years, didn't you?
Yeah.
You were not really considered a spokesman for any one of them.
No.
But you always were irreverent to everyone.
Well, you see, I could not ethically take on more than one particular client. Ted Schulte can tell you. When I was doing Kellogg's, I wouldn't do Post or other cereals, and I did Kellogg's for years for Leo Burnett, as you know. But with those, that's why with the car dealers, for example, I would kid the daylights out of them because I really wasn't representing any of them. They had just bought time on my show.
And they were glad to be represented, I suppose.
Yeah, sure. Oh, one of them did take offense, so I won't tell you that story.
Oh, good.
My dad even bought an Oldsmobile from him.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why can't you tell us this
Well, his
story?
name was Hollingsworth, and I called him Hogshead, and I didn't know he weighed 400 pounds. I hadn't met him. I did apologize to him.
Well, you're so laid back, Art. It's hard to get anything out of you here. We're struggling through this conversation.
It is a trial.
Would you like to do a station break for this?
Not particularly.
For this station. Why don't you give us an official station break here?
Okay. You're listening to Chuck Schaden, Those Were the Days, WNIB 97 FM Chicago, and WNIZ Zion 97 FM.
That's very good.
Is that enough?
That's very good. And you put me to shame.
You know what my fee is for that, by the way?
Yeah, that fee.
That was a freebie.
Well, I'm going to...
Thank you. I'm honored that you asked me.
Oh, thank you. When we talked earlier on the phone, a little after 1 o'clock, you mentioned one of your sponsors, and I didn't charge you for
It got
mentioning
out on your station?
That was on this station. I didn't.
Wow.
I wasn't going to put a charge
Who
in
was
for
the
that.
lucky devil?
Can't remember now.
Oh.
You did a whole spot after we went off the air. Someone called and said after...
I'll bet it was Bailey's Carpeting.
That's what it was.
Okay.
Bailey's Carpeting.
Got another plug for it.
What? Bailey's Carpeting. Where is Bailey's Carpeting?
In Joliet.
Do they do cleaning or do they just
No,
do...
they sell carpeting and they supply dealers who build new homes within a 75-mile radius.
Is it cheap carpeting or is it good stuff?
It is excellent.
Oh.
Top quality. They are the carpet dealer. Yeah, they are.
When you do...
Boy, they're going to get a bill from you now.
That's right. We get 5 more seconds out of this. It's $200. All right. I want you out there in Radio Land to listen some more to Art Helier here. This is, again, from WCFL, November the 14th of 1955. You're on the air at this time from 6:45 to 8:45 every morning.
Aren't those strange hours
Strange
for a morning
hours,
show?
yeah. You know, you think today, most of the morning shows on radio are starting at 5 or 5:30,
Right.
and
Yeah.
they're running till usually
10.
10 o'clock.
Right.
See? And but back in 1955, I don't think too many people got such an early start.
No.
Or at least they weren't listening to the radio, or the radio people didn't think there was anybody out there
Right.
at that hour to be listening.
Well, Marty
to the
Hogan
radio.
used to tell me, when you come on now at 6:45, he said, I want you to think of those people as being strictly blue collar and have your commercials and your humor and your music slanted toward them. Then he said around 8 o'clock we get the carriage trade. And he said, look at it differently from 8 until...
And of course you did, right?
Naturally.
Okay, here's more of Art Hellyer.
The time is 7:15 here in Chicago. The temperature 39 degrees. Clearing and colder today, partly cloudy and colder tonight. Tuesday cloudy with occasional rain. High today near 40, low tonight 30.
Yeah, that was spectacular.
I thought so.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You can perform that act for us every week, Billy.
Well, wait a minute. Everything was going fine until you said Billy. I honestly thought you were congratulating me and that you had enjoyed what we were doing till you called me Billy.
That was spectacular.
Are we on the speaker?
His timing was perfect.
Play some very classic music. Spike Jones, go. Yeah. We had him on the show. I've been introduced to him. Oh, yeah, I played his thing. We stayed at his home, too. This is Homer and Jim. Yeah. The original Homer. Yeah.
And that was Art Helier. Who was that on your Helier show from 1955?
That was Homer and Jethro.
Homer and Jethro.
Yeah, we used to have them on live doing things, too. They were great. One of them lived in Evanston, Jethro, and Homer lived in Hammond. Remember?
And I didn't remember where they lived.
Yeah, they met halfway in between and performed.
Now, that was the ever-popular Marty Hogan was doing some of the commercials on that.
Oh,
that
Marty
show,
Hogan
right?
did not only the commercials on his own radio station where he was manager, he represented Robert Hall nationally.
Oh, he did?
He was their announcer nationally, yeah. And he also worked the Cubs and White Sox ball games in those days for Geritol.
For Geritol?
Yeah, for
Sponsored
Geritol.
Cubs and
Right, yeah. Yeah. Marty did a lot of work. He was a very well-known broadcaster.
Oh, he was not doing play-by-play or
No,
anything
no,
like that.
no.
He was just doing the
strictly
commercials. I see,
Right,
I
yeah,
see.
yeah.
Well, now you were over at WAIT, and you left and you went to this one-day stand that you had where you
Right.
threw the records out the window.
Mhm.
And then what?
Some of them sailed nicely. Too.
The 45s with the big hole in the middle.
The 45 with the big hole in the middle, you could get those to go up. Those would rise, yeah. Whereas the 33s and the 78s would go straight down, you know. But the 45s were great fun to hurl.
The 78s
And
would actually break, too.
You do them with a sort of a frisbee catch.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was great sport. After that, I went to work for Channel 7, and I stayed there for many years. Yeah, I stayed at Channel 7. I did everything you can think
You did more or less straight stuff there, though, right?
Well, I had no choice.
Yeah.
You know, when they put copy in front of you saying, it's time for Monday Night Baseball, brought to you by, and you have to do it in 7 seconds and that sort of thing, as Ted Schulte very well remembers, you read it that way. Breaks would run anywhere from 3 to 7 to 9 to 12 to 13 seconds. And the intros, I did intros on Maverick, My Three Sons, The Real McCoys, 77 Sunset Strip, the Monday Night Football, Monday Night Baseball. I did those until they, in fact, they went to computer on that November 2nd of 79. I did those for 20 years.
Well, now, you say you introduced 77 Sunset Strip. Now, that came off the network, right?
Yeah.
What would you do to introduce it?
Oh, this is the interesting thing. Every program on ABC came out of Chicago in the late 50s and the early 60s. Did you know that?
This was a
Every
central
program
point?
on ABC TV. And do you know why? If you were used to seeing My Three Sons at 7:30 on Thursday night in Chicago, you also saw it in Los Angeles and Seattle at 7:30 local time. You saw it in Denver 7:30, Miami, New York at 7:30. We had 4 or 5 feeds going of every show. We fed everything to the ABC network on tape in those days. And we were paid very handsome fees. And New York suddenly realized that after about 4 years and decided they were going to put an end to it because they didn't want to spend the money they were spending, because they had to pay us for introducing all of these shows. But in so doing, it was an unusual approach way back then to allowing you, if you're used to watching TV shows at a certain time in your market, no matter where you go, you're going to see them at the same time. NBC just this past 6 months has been talking about doing that very same thing. Did you read that?
I didn't read that.
Yeah,
No.
having all the shows start at the same time, local time.
Coast to coast.
Right, but we were feeding them all out of Chicago. And we had booths. We had H down the hall, N next door to it, the 2 network booths. Then we had the local C booth back halfway down the building at 190 North State, where they still are, by the way. I would often do a network system cue to the West Coast in 3 seconds at, say, 8:27:42. Then at 8:27:47, I'd have to be next door in N to do another one, and then 10 seconds later, I had to be all the way down the hall to do the local.
Well, what would you say?
Whatever the copy was that I was to read.
And now here's 77 Sunset Strip?
Right, brought to you by. And then that's where they had to pay us, brought to you by, when we mentioned the client. If we're just introducing a sustaining show, no. In fact, I used to have fun on Rocky and Bullwinkle. I would do the announcements in Rocky and Bullwinkle, and when my kids would have birthdays, I'd throw them in coast to coast. You know, my daughter Victoria, I remember that very well. Little girl, I remember saying, "Happy birthday, Vicky," and went right on in the spot. You know.
There's no holding you down, is there? There's no holding you back.
And when things would break down on the network, we'd get a call to go down and cover. I remember one night, Bewitched broke down. Remember that one?
Sure.
Bewitched broke down. So Richie Victor called me, the director, great guy, and he says, "Hey, Art, get down the hall." He said, "Bewitched is broken down." So I get down there. The mic is open when I run in. The light's on. So I just sat down at the mic and I said, "Relax. It's not your $750 TV set. Samantha did it." Yeah. I got a letter from ABC New York, a complimentary one.
Oh, yeah?
From ABC New York. On that.
Wow.
Yes, I did.
That's good.
A complimentary one.
That's good.
I remember the man who wrote it, I forget his name, said it was a beautiful retrieve, was the way he put it. I'd never had anyone call to say I'd made a beautiful retrieve, before or since, by the way.
Well, how many compliments have you gotten from station management over
None.
the years? Brickbats, but no bouquets,
Right.
huh? Is that it?
Right.
That's the truth, isn't it? It's real hard. You know that they seldom want to give you a pat on the back because they're afraid that what's the comeback going to be?
That's right.
I want more money, right?
Exactly.
But they're wrong.
Yeah. All I
They're
want to do is be left alone and do my show.
That's right.
Exactly.
We're having a lot of fun this afternoon with Art Hellyer, our very special guest here at the Museum of Broadcast Communications on our Those Were the Days program. If you would like to call in with a question for Art, we might have a few minutes for a few phone calls. You can give us a buzz at 312-629-6030. Give us a call, and maybe we can put a couple of phone calls on the air, and you can ask a question of our special guest, Art Hellyer, 629-6030. That's 312-629-6030. Oh, I'm sorry, this is Al.
Hi, Chuck.
Al, I'm sorry. Al who?
Al Parker, Chuck, your old friend.
Al Parker.
Who?
Ask Hellyer, Chuck. Art,
You're
if he
talking to Art right
remembers,
now.
Chuck,
Hey.
ask him if he remembers the...
Dr. Zablonsky.
No, never mind, Dr. Saban.
Come on, do Dr. Zablonsky.
Only if I get paid, Art.
Yeah, I know you.
Art, tell Chuck and the vast folks in Radioland
vast
about having a dinner with Tom Racine at Berghoff's, and tell him what happened when you didn't get your baked potato. Because if you don't, I'll tell the story.
Well, you better tell it, because I really don't remember that one, Mr. Parker.
Oh, Art, you with the memory that doesn't forget when it rained on March 15th, 1812? You know the weather when Lincoln was assassinated? You know what happened when Queen Elizabeth was given her crown? What was the weather like in London that day, Art?
Foggy.
Okay, I know the story, and I'll tell it, but I have to clean it up. Tom
Please do.
Racine, who was a very successful Chicago announcer, always reminded me of Dave Garroway to some degree.
Very
Right,
much,
Art?
very much so, yeah.
You guys were having dinner at Berghoff's, and as we all know, Berghoff's has the first liquor license in Chicago and the first waiters in Chicago.
Yeah.
Many of them, thanks to taxidermy, are still there. Anyhow, this tough guy comes over to the table. It's very crowded, very busy, and he says, yeah. He says, what are you going to have? And Racine ordered his dinner, and Art ordered his dinner, and part of his dinner was a baked potato. And a few minutes later, the waiter came back, and of course, there's a ton of people there. And the waiter says, we ain't got no more baked potatoes. Well, Art, who has somewhat of a short temper, do you, Art?
No.
Said, what do you mean you don't have a baked potato? I want a baked potato, you blank blank, beep beep. And the waiter did not take kindly to this, and a few minutes later, the manager came over and said, gentlemen, this is what seems to be the problem. Now, while this is going on, there's a little lady, probably from Oak Park or Lake Forest, with her Montgomery Ward black straw hat, eating a celery steak, minding her own business. And as soon as Art started getting uncomfortable about this, she put her hand up to her eyes to shield her eyes and said, oh my, every time Art uttered a colorful word. The manager came over and said, gentlemen, what seems to be the problem? And Art said, this blankety blank won't give me my baked potato. And the manager said, well, sir, I'm sure there's a misunderstanding, and why don't I get back to the kitchen and see what's going on? So we switched to the little old lady saying, why my, very upset. 10 minutes, 15 minutes go by. The manager comes back and says, I can't believe this, gentlemen. He says, we have had bigger crowds than this in the past. I've seen this happen many times where we've had perhaps 50, 100 more people. We've always had baked potatoes. And Art said, you mean? And he says, yes. He says, we really are out of baked potatoes. Shift to the old lady, and she's saying, oh, my. And I think by that time, half the restaurant had turned around. It loses a little bit of its flavor because I can't use the appropriate word.
Al, do you remember the night we went to Binion's for dinner?
Well, I was hoping you'd tell that one.
Remember that?
Yes.
We went there one night.
Wait a minute, now you guys are telling dinner stories?
Well, wait a second.
By the way, what program is
hold
this?
it, just a moment.
Those were the dinners.
To put this into the proper context, we're both staff announcers at Channel 7 ABC.
Okay.
Right.
And we would go out to dinner together. And one night it would be Binion's, another night it would be Berghoff's. And we went to Binion's, and here's the crowd all the way down into Plymouth Court. Right, Al?
Right.
So we go upstairs as though we belong there. And it turns out that it's a national group, a big electronics firm. So I introduced myself as the president of the electronics firm.
And everybody went for it, and you looked every inch the president.
And they did go for it, and you were Izzy Austin, the vice president.
I was Izzy.
You remember?
Somehow ethnicity worked.
We had
into that. I don't know why, but I was Izzy.
We had beautiful steaks. I made a speech, and we got out of there and went back to work.
And for as far as we know, this is the first time they have found out the truth. 30 years later.
I know, 30 years later they found out the truth.
I don't want to monopolize your program.
Yeah,
Forgive
listen,
me. I just want to say, if I may, Chuck, that, and I'm sure your audience would agree, that Art Helier, and as a professional broadcaster who's been at this about as long as Art Helier has, I would like to say that I have never known a more talented or more charming man than Art Helier. He is the consummate broadcaster. Always has been, always will be.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Al Parker.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Al. Bye-bye. What a nice
Al
guy.
Parker is, as he said, and as we know, is a very fine broadcaster in the. He didn't say he was a fine broadcaster, but he is a broadcaster in the Chicago area, and he's with Columbia College now. He's in charge of the radio department.
He
I
is
think.
dean of the radio department. He has taught at Columbia College since 1949. Did you know that?
A long time.
And is the dean of the radio department.
And you worked at Columbia for a while.
For many
teaching,
years,
yeah.
and you did too.
I had a chance to do a few little
Sure.
things now and then. Yeah, that was great.
I enjoyed working with him.
Great. Art Hellyer is our guest this afternoon. We do have another caller on the line, and let's go to this line and say hello to Pip. Is this Pip now?
Hello, Chuck.
Yeah, Pip. What is Pip?
Okay. How you doing?
Pip, what is Pip? Is that your first name or your last
my first name.
And what's your last name, Pip?
Pip Coper.
Pip Coper?
Right.
Okay, got a question for Art Hellyer?
Yeah, I was kind of wondering when he went off the air in the Chicago area, because I really enjoyed his spiel there so far. It's very entertaining. He's a very entertaining person, and I see some of the people that I looked upon here in the Chicago area, like Larry Lujak, who were kind of irreverent in the same way, and I wonder maybe they must have taken lessons from him. Certainly a lot of people could today.
Thank you.
Pip, I would say that a lot of people who are on the air now or who have been on the air in Chicago took lessons from Art Hellyer, but they didn't learn everything he had to teach. I would say that. Would you say that, Art?
Thank you, Chuck.
Maybe?
Thank you. To answer the man's question, on September 17th, a Sunday night, 1983, I was on WJJD in those days on Saturday and Sunday night, 6 till midnight. At about 5 minutes to 9, I took a vow never to come into the city of Chicago again, and that was it. And I have come in twice, June 12th, 1988, to be on WBBM with Chuck, and today to be on WNIB with Chuck.
And I'm honored and grateful that you do that.
Well, you know, I just think that you know, it's very rare to find that kind of exuberance or whatever. I don't know what what you would term it, but I really enjoyed very much, you know, so far what's been going on, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of the show this afternoon because I'm going to hang up and listen in.
We're not going to let you.
Well, I've got work to do. You know? And Chuck, I don't know if you remember or not, but I've been doing a lot of stuff. I've told you before that I did my roof listening to this afternoon program, and I'm in the middle of drywalling right now, and it really, I'm telling you, it makes my work enjoyable to listen to you. There is no other compliment. I mean, I look forward to Saturday afternoon because, you know, it's the one time I can put the radio on and get up on the ladder, and no matter what happens, I'm going to enjoy what I'm doing.
Don't you wish radio was like this all the time?
Well,
I do.
I listen to radio probably 16 hours a day. I listen to shortwave when I work at work, my regular job, and you know, I listen to a panoply of BBC, Radio Australia, you name it, and I really enjoy it. It's a very important part of my life, and we don't have a TV, so I really
That's
interesting. I guess I must be an auditory person.
What type radio do you use?
Well, I have, you would ask, I have 3 or 4 different kinds of radios. And I've got a Panasonic and a Sony. I've got you guys on the Sony right now, which is kind of beaten up. But I'm getting a new one.
What do you use for DX?
Well, I don't really have a base station. What I use is I have a Sony, an old one. It's about 8 years old. It's an ICF 7600.
Yeah.
And it's very small, very portable.
Right.
It's a PLL. You dial up the frequency, and it stays there pretty good. And it's pretty sensitive. I have a Panasonic. I don't remember the model on it, but it's a bigger model, and it's like in the kitchen. You know, it's a kitchen table.
Do you know what I DX on? A Hallicrafters.
Well, yeah. I wish I could get a Hallicrafters.
How do you like that? Well, my dad was their attorney. And
yeah, I guess you'd get a good set.
I've got a 42 and a 62.
You know, okay, I'm going to tell you right now, I envy you. I'm looking for a Grundig International 650 as a base station right now.
Great radio.
And I wish I had something better because I listen to Radio Finland in the morning, and it's very difficult to get the transmission. And it's just part of, you know, for me, it's part of my day is to listen, you know, to the radio and put it on and stuff. And the only problem with the Hallicrafters is it has a tendency to drift.
They do.
And when you're on the ladder and you're full of muck and you can't get down and change the thing, it's a problem.
Well, don't drift when you're on the ladder.
No. Huh? No. But that's why I'm really, you know, the PLL, the technology for the phase lock tuning has really been a big thing for me.
Listen, Pip, thanks very much for your call, and I appreciate your kind words, too. That's your words about our show makes our job pleasant.
Well, you know, Chuck, I'm one of these guys, I work at night, so I listen to your program at night. You Monday through Wednesday. And the hardest problem I have is staying up between the hours of 8 and 10 on the weekend to catch it.
Oh. That's a switch. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
I'll tell you the type of people I've worked for over the years. I was doing Paul's show the Saturday in November that he died in 1965. And in those days, there was no switchboard operator at BBM on Saturday afternoon. We would get the phone calls in the studio. I answered the phone, and it was Northwestern Hospital calling, and a nurse said, is this somebody in the office there? I said, well, there is nobody. He said, well, I have to inform you that Paul Gibson just passed away.
Oh.
Well, I called the program director, and he says, good, now I don't have to fire him.
Oh,
gee whiz.
Oh, they loved him there, huh?
I will not give the program director's name.
No, I would never mention his name.
He's known by the people who are in radio here in this room.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, this is just marvelous. I didn't know until I caught word of this in the Nostalgia Digest that you were even in the area.
Yeah, I do a little thing every Saturday morning out at JOL in Joliet from 9 until 2.
Yes,
13:40 a.m.,
Right, and they let me do my thing and leave me alone, and that's the way I want it.
Well, I have to see if I can pick you up here.
You can. I hear from people in Elmhurst and Villa Park.
Really?
Paul
Okay,
Albert.
I've only got 5 radios in my 4 rooms.
Paul Albert's a regular listener of mine. Okay.
Mary, thanks very much for
Thank
checking
you.
in with us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
A lot of fans out there, Art. A lot of people who love you and love the things that you've done over the years. And so many things that you did that you've said on the radio made a great impression on so many people over the years.
And Gene Jansen's listening today. I see him on Channel 11 a lot. He wanted me to tell about the day I left JJD. Well, I told that a little while ago. Then there's a Marilyn. She remembers my Memory Lane show over at WOPA.
Oh, yeah.
Chuck, those were the years I was on OPA from 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, 6 days a week, and also worked a 45-hour week at Channel 7.
Oh, my gosh. How could you do that? I mean, how could you physically do that?
John Russell Greist has that written up in his book, Valley Voices.
Right.
You have Valley Voices
of
at the
course,
store.
yeah.
Yeah, that's an excellent book. Yeah, I did 8 until 4, 6 days a week at WOPA, and then I did a 45-hour week also at ABC at Channel 7. And I still went to Minneapolis, too, on Monday night to do the commercials for National Tea.
You went Monday night to Minneapolis?
Uh-huh.
Did you take the Empire Builder up there? Or?
Yes, I did, frankly.
Train?
I took the train, and then the next day I'd fly back because I was back at Channel 7 to work, yeah.
Got a few more calls here.
Okay, fine.
We're going to get to them in just a moment. I want to mention this is 97 FM, WNIB in Chicago.